What's going on, my geeks? I'm Kakui Otaku, and welcome to Home Base Serenity, where today I'm starting a series I've been planning for a long time, Beginner's Game Guides. One of the things I've wanted to do since the inception of this channel was to help lower level players understand the game, like how Latana's videos helped me when I was first starting out. In fact, when Latana and I were talking about where I would find my niche in the community, we both discussed how it would be good for someone to do updated guides, as the game has changed so much since his guides, and it's changed even more since the day we talked about it. So to do this, I've actually created an alt account and bought the game again so that I could actually do the missions I'm creating guides for. I bought the game again on this alt account in the summer of 2019 when it was half off during the 2019 birthday event. So you can see just how long I've wanted to do these videos. The first in this series will actually be on your first storm shield defenses. You do your first as part of the tutorial, and I don't actually have footage from either of my accounts, but it's the same for everyone, and the game does a pretty good job of helping guide you through the first one. So I'm actually going to concentrate on Stonewood SSDs 2 through 6 for this video. And the first thing you're going to want to do is tear down the original build around the storm shield. It's honestly more of a guide to teach you how to build, and I feel like it's less effective later on. I'm going to jump on into my alt account Stonewood SSD so I can show you what I did to defend the storm shield, as it didn't change for any of the defenses.
Allons-y.
I'm sorry?
It's French, but let's go.
Alright, so here we are inside my Stonewood SSD on my alt account. Main thing we're going to talk about right now is this right here. So this is what I've done to defend the storm shield itself. I've not put up any traps, as I really haven't needed to. I might need to later for Stonewood SSD 7 through 10. Maybe, but hopefully the defenses will keep them from even getting to it. So I should be good with this. So this is just the basic build that I would do with it. It's really just a pyramid when you look at it. Like, you can see the top part of the pyramid there. But when you look inside, you'll see that it's really, again, just a pyramid. It's all I've done. It's just a pyramid to defend. And then I've just put walls around it to protect it. And then I left some room at the back to get in, so you can actually come in and access the storm shield menu. So this is what I would do for a basic defense for the storm shield itself. If you wanted to put a base down somewhere, probably would be the best to put it here. You couldn't really put it here because, as you can kind of see as I edit in, there's no floor here because of the actual storm shield. Now, before I show you the amplifier defenses, I'm going to jump back onto my main account and show you the spawn points.
And now for something completely different.
Okay, so for the first 3 storm shield defenses in Stonewood, you have 3 spawn points you have to worry about. You have this spawn point directly to the south of the storm shield, and then you have this one over here to the west of the storm shield. And then the one that gave me the most problem the first time through, because I didn't really know what I was doing and didn't know how to build, a spawn point over here to the east. Now for this spawn point, the husks will spawn all the way down in here, and they can make their way up either side of this, all the way even to actually this side. And my biggest problem was that I didn't know how to build. So like, I had my defenses all the way out to here, and it really wasn't effective because like I tried to block off all this, and then in between it was just wall after wall after wall with not those, definitely not that direction either, with I mean, this is actually kind of worse than that, really, with nothing but triangles in between. And I think I even had like other walls here to make it like complete cubes. That's not really effective because, for one thing, the husks can just walk right over the pyramids just like I can, but also they would come up here and get through it real easily because, again, they could just walk right through the pyramids. They had to break through those walls there, so it wasn't really as effective as I wanted it to be. So when I came back into Stonewood to do 7 through 10, I tore the entire thing down and rebuilt something very similar, although with a lot more traps, to what you just saw on my alt account. But again, the main point of what I'm trying to show here are the spawn points that you have over here to the east, down in that area, and then over here to the south, all right down in here, and then over here to the west. Now, as soon as you put down amplifiers, just like in Twine Peaks, that spawn point is cut off completely. So I put down this one for amp A, which cut off this one, and then I put down this amp actually for amp B, which cut off this spawn point. So all I had to worry about at that point was the east spawn point for the storm shield itself. So now talking about the amplifiers, we're going to start off here with amplifier A. You don't have to put down an amplifier until defense number 4. And so this was the one I put down for that one. The spawn points for this, just as you probably would have expected, would be right here from the south, but then also from the east. Now, I remembered that they could spawn from the east, so I built some defenses right here, as I'll show you later. What I forgot was that while they spawn from the east, they don't just come down this way. They can also split off and come down over here. But those are the spawn points you have to worry about for this amplifier. Moving on to the next amplifier, to what was my amplifier B. The main spawn point, as you might expect for this one again, is from the west. Spawn out in this area. This little plateau will split them off, so they can either go this direction to get to your storm shield, or they can go around through here. Either way. So you'll see how I built up defenses on both sides to actually make sure to take them out no matter which direction they went through. What I forgot was that they could actually spawn from the south as well. Now, luckily for me, whenever that happened, I had a defender pad right here, right next to the storm shield. And so between myself and the defender, we were able to keep them from doing any damage. And I didn't actually end up building anything because I knew I was going to put down that amplifier as the third amplifier. So I didn't really need to worry about it. And so then lastly, the last amplifier that I put down for the first 6 Stonewood SSDs was this one right here. Your main spawn point that you're going to have to worry about is going to be over here to the west. You don't have much room to build because the storm shield is basically kind of right here. The other spawn point you can have is from down in here, and I really only trapped up one direction, which was here. I didn't really do any defenses for this direction over here because the storm shield was too close to really do anything, and I didn't really see them come up this direction anyway. Plus, with the defenses I already had, they were kind of blocked off anyway, so it didn't really necessarily matter. So that shows you the spawn points you'll have to deal with to get all the way through Stonewood SSD 6. Now, I'm jumping back over to my alt account to show you what I built to defend against these spawn points.
Do it.
Alright, now here we are back on my alt account, where we're going to talk about the defenses that I did for those different spawn points. Now, the first thing I want to say before I show you any of the defenses, I did kind of cheese this a little bit. So what I've done to cheese this is I've actually used both accounts to make this happen. So I'd be logged into my alt account on my PlayStation 4, and then on my MacBook, I was actually on my main account. So what I would do is I would give my materials from my alt account to the main account, and then I used my main account to build, or to at least do the traps. As well, I do have a good bit of the traps on the alt account. I don't have them all where I want them, but I will also say that even though I did do this with the traps from my main account, I crafted every single one of them at the appropriate power level. So they were all power level 34, just like the weapons you can see that I've got right now. Again, I crafted those on my main account, gave them to my alt account. They are all at the proper power level for Stonewood, the highest it can be. So yeah, I did have a little bit of an advantage by the fact that I've got power level 34 traps. They're all legendary, and I had access to every single trap in the game that I might want to use. So that did help a little bit, but the reason I did it is because it's the same thing as if you had a friend who's a higher power level come in and help you as well. They'd have the traps that you may not have, so you could build it together and have a good time doing that. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to start off with the defense from the east. Now, before I actually go into anything about the defense itself, I'm going to start here at the spawn point. So as I said, they spawn right in this area right here, and then head towards the storm shield. First thing I did was to block off any access they could have over here. And again, yes, I did go ahead and level up all the materials to tier 3 just to help out a little bit, even though I didn't have access for upgrading like this until a couple of SSDs in. Now, originally, I might have actually blocked off every bit of this part too and made them all go through that direction, but I decided not to. I actually left an opening here that we'll go over in a second, but then the other direction I wanted them to go through was over here. Now, this is the first thing that I want to talk about. I'm going to have to fix that before I go any further. These are the most important, in my opinion, and most effective traps to use in a situation like this, and really in any situation. They're known as Timeout Rooms, for anyone who doesn't know what they are. So the idea is you've got wooden floor spikes, the Demon Joe France special, by the way, with all durability. So you can see they got 348 on the durability, and that's the whole point of using the blue ones, so they can have just straight up durability, because all of these traps are meant to do is slow down the husk. So they come in, get slowed down, and if that trap hadn't already disappeared for some reason, I don't know why it disappeared, it's not supposed to, it would be the same as this right here. It's a wall launcher. So the wall launcher would actually launch them into the timeout room. And the way a timeout room is set up, it's meant to stop them in their tracks and get rid of them, basically. And so the way you would set up a single timeout room would be broadsides or wall darts on either side, Then you can put the other here. Although I have heard, and we don't know for sure whether it does or not, that a broadside firing directly at a wall launcher can stop the wall launcher from working. I don't know for sure. So that's why I usually do wall darts going straight at the wall launcher. But in the broadsides crossing directions, that really helps as well. Now, if it's just a single timeout room, you don't necessarily need a ceiling electric field, though it can work out still pretty well because these fire in a 3x3 radius. So you could just use ceiling electric zapper. Those work pretty well. But since this is, more than one timeout room together, I've used the ceiling electric field so that they trigger across the timeout rooms, which is why there's a bit of a half wall here so that it allows the trap to damage over here as well. And it could, as far as I know, damage out here so it can do this whole 3x3 area. This is another reason why we do broadsides with these half walls, is because the broadside would fire over the half wall and damage husks all the way across, potentially even as far away as here. I'm not really sure. It might kind of die out halfway through. But we also put down wall dynamos here because they're the only traps you can put on half walls that actually do significant damage. You could put wall spikes, but they're really more for slowing. They don't really do as much damage as a wall dynamo. And we got tar pits down to slow them in their tracks so they get damaged by everything else. I have put a broadside here just to kind of get some more cannons going. And then, of course, gas traps up here to damage them as they come through. And we've put down half walls that are not even completely walls to slow them down even more. So the wooden floor spikes would slow them down, but then they'd have to come through here and then path around this way and then path around this way. They wouldn't actually get stopped by it. It would just delay them even more because they would just walk around like this. But it just keeps them from being able to walk straight out. But that's the basic idea of a trap room and how I trapped up the defenses here. As they come out, I've got a sound wall in case any propanes get through, because the sound wall will make them drop the propane before they go any further. And then some broadsides to hit them from the back as they're leaving. The other side of this is another little tunnel that I've done that's basically what I call a resistance room. Starts out with a gas trap to get them as they're coming in, but then we've got broadsides on either side to damage them, again crisscrossing them, wall darts to hit them in the back, ceiling electric field to damage them as they come through, another gas trap here, a wall launcher to push them back. That's why it's called resistance. It's set up to do as much resistance as possible. So that's why we have the wooden floor spikes here. And any chance that I have to do a wall launcher to push them back, I do. Also do damage from the broadsides and the wall darts and gas traps all the way throughout. And then I've done this design on the wall here just to make sure that they go to hit this wall launcher, because that means they actually have to walk through here, which gets them closer to the wall launcher. And that's basically the defenses I did for the east. The one thing I do want to point out before I go any further is that there can be a spire right there. One little spire, and all I would do for that is maybe on your defenses here put down some floor spikes and some broadsides to slow them down and damage them as they come through. Don't put anything there because the spire will destroy it, as you can see. And I built this here because I always run as a constructor so that I can get up here on top of it and put down my base. So then to defend from the south, I did more timeout rooms. They are gone now because I don't need them, but I did a timeout room here and I split them just like that. So one timeout room here, another timeout room there, but it was actually too wide. And so they had to come through here and the timeout rooms would be here as they tried to actually make it up to the storm shield. Now, the one thing that I didn't actually think about was that the husks could actually escape the timeout room coming through here, because they're spawning out here. They don't have to come through here. They could sneak around through here, and they did. So what I would do to fix that is just put down a wall there, just any kind of wall there. Will keep them from coming that direction. They can't really get through this side, but if you want to, you could just put down a wall there and that would keep them from getting through that side. I did the exact same thing to defend from the west. Another timeout room here, too wide, just like the other one, split down the middle. So they had to come up through here to get to me. And again, the timeout rooms themselves will be there and there. So as I said earlier, I put down this as Amplifier A. A basic defense around an amplifier, the way I do it is just a plus sign with ramps leading up and then a place to potentially put down a base here under this Dorito. It gets different with each defense depending on where the spawn points are and the geography around the actual defense itself. But this is what I put down for Amplifier A here. Again, I've got Doritos so that I can get up onto it as a constructor, because I always run as a constructor when I'm actually doing the defenses. Now, I can't show it to you on this one because it's kind of in there, but one thing that I learned when I was doing my Twine Peaks is that if you leave part of it open, not like that, like so, the husks will path directly for the opening. They're going to go for the easiest way they can get into the amp. So if you leave part of it open, they'll go for that. And so that's what I've done in there. I can't get into it though because that's where all my traps are, and I've already trapped up everything. And it's an entire tunnel, so I can't get into it to show you what I've done yet. But one thing I do want to make sure to tell you is if you actually do something like this where you block off the whole thing, make sure you leave yourself a way to get in case of smashers. That's why I've done this door here. Could be on either side, could be back here, doesn't really matter, just as long as you have a way to get in yourself in case you get any smashers that get in there and they don't want to die. So I also forgot initially to build a defense here. So we'll go over this one first before I go over the main defense for this. So I left this place completely undefended. It wasn't too hard to defend it myself because the rest of it was defended by this tunnel here, which we'll see in a second. But I just basically built a single wide timeout room. Now this is what I was talking about earlier, using a ceiling zapper here, the gas trap, broadsides to go across, tar pit to slow them down or to stop them. In this one, since it was a single wide, I just did a retractable floor spike just to do some extra damage in case the smasher decided to come through. And I blocked this bit off here so they couldn't escape around the timeout room. Now, before I go over the main defense, again, I want to show you the other little secondary defenses. Like I said, you can get spawns from the east on this one. So I put another timeout room in, just the same thing as what you saw before. I put a timeout room there. Put a wall there just to keep them from getting around it. And I also put this up right here to keep them from getting up here to escape both of them. Just like these walls here, keep them from escaping this timeout room. Now, I had a place to actually put down a sound wall again just to kind of keep the propanes from getting through with their actual propanes. So the sound wall makes it drop the propane. And just another timeout room. And I put a wall here again just to make sure that that the smaller ones couldn't get through the hole right here. I don't know that they could, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Also put down a defender pad here just to help with any spawns that come from the east. And you could also put one down here to help with the spawns over here. Now, let's go over the main tunnel here. So mainly they will come up this direction, right? And this is where I've put in a double timeout room. Same idea as all the other timeout rooms, but this is the same idea as what I did for the other dual timeout rooms for the earlier defenses, where I had broadsides coming across and then the wall darts to damage them as they come through, and as they get stuck, the ceiling electric fields to damage across both, the wall dynamos to get some more damage here, and the wall launchers to push them in, gas traps to damage them as they walk through. Should they actually make it through the timeout rooms though, since I've left a direct path into the amplifier, I've got ways to slow them down and damage with wall dynamos, with alternating wall dynamos and wall darts. So you'll see that they alternate. That's just a design choice in my mind. You could do all wall darts, all wall dynamos. It doesn't really matter. And then gas traps to get through here. The last bit of defense obviously is some retractable floor spikes. And I should probably put down some stuff here, but I haven't yet, just in case. But nothing has gotten through. If you want to put some more stuff down here, you could just continue the same stuff I've done here. Just you can't put anything down on the floor. So that's the main defenses that I did for Amplifier A. The last thing I want to show was this little bit that I've added on here. Since I run as a constructor with Mega Base in the build, if I put this down here, the base can actually reach over to this tunnel as well as that tunnel. So the supercharged traps team perk will actually end up affecting both of them, which really comes in handy with making sure that they get more damage on the traps. I'm also going to put down, for later defenses, a ceiling tire drop trap there. It drops from more than one tile up, so that way it will help out with the defense more in that way, help slow them down some. I could even put another sound wall right there, and so I may very well do that. So that one was the most complicated build, I think, out of all the other builds. Let's go over and talk about what I've done at Amplifier B, because it's kind of similar. Again, I've done the plus sign build that I've talked about before, leaving part of it open with some traps inside to damage them if they get to this point. I've put a defender pad down here, like I said earlier. And I've got ways to get up as a constructor without having the mantis leap that ninjas have, so that I can get up here and put down my base. I think I've realized that base is actually most effective here in this build rather than here. because then it reaches most of both trap tunnels. So like I said, the main spawn is from out here, and they will go either direction. So I've put double wide timeout rooms. It's my favorite type of build for this kind of thing. So it's the same kind of idea for this. And then over here is just a single wide, but it's 2 of them side by side. So if they come through here, this is the same kind of deal. I put a ceiling electric field here just because it gets triggered, like I said, in a 3x3 tile radius to kind of get anything that gets through. Same thing over here. Not much actually gets through this, especially in the lower levels, but it might be good to put up another couple traps over there just to help with that if they do get through, or the defender can help as well. Now, like I said, I didn't really build any defenses over here. I knew I was going to put down Amplifier C, and once I did, it would cut off that spawn point like I talked about earlier. So now we've gone through that, let's go over here and talk about Amplifier C. Again, the build around the actual amplifier itself is the exact same as what I've done before with the plus signs, so I don't need to go over that at all. I'm going to start over here with this defense because, like I said, they're going to spawn down here, and mostly they're going to come up through here. They could come up this direction as well, so all I've done here is just resistance to kind of push them back that way or push them down here, so they go through this tunnel, which again is just another timeout room. All of them are exactly the same, so there's no need to actually show more of what they are because they're the same. There's another timeout room here when I go over to the defense from the west. It's just a single wide because I only had room for a single wide because when I first built this, the storm shield was literally it was coming right through this tile. I had to actually kind of trick it to let me put down this wall dart here. I was able to put down the broadside, but I was just barely able to put down the wall dart. But I did have room to put on another timeout room here. So this timeout room will help anything that comes up this direction here, and then this one will help anything that comes up from this direction. And I've put down a place right here to put down the base so that it affects both timeout rooms and actually the storm shield itself. But I think that's all I can actually show you right now for the actual defenses. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the footage from the defenses for 2 through 6 and react to them. Back to action! Okay, so as you'll see, I've actually got a couple people in here with me. I was showing CJ and Kat how fun this defense was and how sweaty this actually was, because this was actually way overbuilt for Stonewood, all of it. And I wanted to show them what it was like, and then they decided they wanted to actually see it in action, so they're here with me. So you can see here the original 2x2 tunnel that I did here, or 2x4 tunnel that I did here with a timeout room, and they're not even making it in to the timeout room at this point. It's just so early. And then especially once CJ put down his base, he has electrified floors on his base, so they're not even making it in to the timeout room at all. That's why I say these builds were actually way too sweaty and way too overpowered for what this was. But it's still simple. It's cheap, even with this build. I mean, you can see CJ's just having a seat there. And see, that's what I was talking about earlier. That's where the husk started to get through that little place there, and we put down a wall to actually keep them from getting through there. Nothing's actually getting through. It's easy mode right now. Yep. And so now we got wave 2 from the west, which had the exact same defenses as the south did. So you can imagine this is going to be just as easy as the first wave, especially now that CJ's putting down his base again. Oh, and now we get our first time with lobbers. Like, this is the first time you actually encounter lobbers in the game. Now, because of a glitch that's going on in Storm Shields right now, unless you have it on private, with Kat just sitting there watching everything go down, she actually almost got kicked for being idle, so that's why she decided to jump in here and actually start attacking. We didn't need her to. The Huskers power level 2, and the traps are power level 34. She also decided to put down a lobber shield, which we didn't really need either, because there's not going to be a ton of lobbers, especially not this early in the game, but she's used to running endurance, so that's why she put it down. But you know what? I'll say this. Even though I way overbuilt for my Stonewood, it was a lot of fun to actually do it. I love building trap tunnels. It's one of my favorite things in this game. So being so sweaty with my trap tunnels is actually really fun to me. See, we had so little to do that CJ actually decided to just go out there and have a seat in front of the husks and let them just hit on him. They were doing basically nothing to him. These are the kind of memes that we like to do when we're having fun, because that's what this game should be all about. It should be about having fun, and we had so much fun doing that. So let's go ahead and jump on now to the next one, to Stonewood Storm Shield Defense number 3. And here we are in SSD 3, where we get our first time with the propanes. These things are a menace to trap tunnels. Oh my goodness. So my first defense was from the south, and I haven't put down an amplifier yet. I forgot to put down that wall, though, I just noticed, so I needed to put down that wall. Hopefully I'll remember to. I can't remember if I did or not. I go in and put down my base here, and just stand back and watch the tunnel do its work. Now, I don't believe that I have electrified floors in this build, so it's not as effective as when CJ was in here, plus CJ's character was higher leveled. But I also changed over to Mega Base for this because since I'm using the base on the tunnels, I wanted to have that Nova explosion rather than the larger area covered by base. I still put Mega Base in as support, but I wanted to have that right there as part of the build to help out because it's so much bigger and more effective with heavy base as commander. All right, Storm Shield Defense 3 wave number 2. I think I may have just sat here and Shaolin sipped for the entire thing because it's actually a quota wave. I only have to eliminate 75 enemies. That's going to go by pretty quickly. Oh, but that Nova explosion though, man. I love it. And it's so massive when he's commander. And the fact that we know it affects not just the tile it's on, but the tiles above and below as well, that makes all the difference in the world. You can see just how effective the timeout rooms are because even though the husks aren't even getting thrown into the timeout portion of it, they're just dying right at the entrance, basically. And so now we get to see the defense from the east in action. Changed my mind and put the base somewhere else. When I did that, I noticed there were some husks that were trying to attack the wall. I'm not sure why they did that, but you could put some wall launchers there to keep them off the wall if you wanted to. But yeah, again, these builds are doing work. The husks are just power level 3, so they're not even getting in at all. I could have probably built less, but I was trying to build what would be most effective to get me all the way through SSD 6. And I think I've done that, as you can see here, because they're not even getting in at all. They're just dying at the mouth of both tunnels. Yeah, next time it's in the Battle Royale shop, I'm definitely gifting Have a Seat to this account. That's one of the best emotes in the game. I just wish I'd done it before. The only thing I have similar is Shaolin Sip. That's why you see me doing it quite a bit. And that's SSD 3 done and dusted. Very simple again. The husks are very low level. They're barely getting into the mouth of any trap tunnels. So easy mode. And only partially because my builds are so sweaty. Well, maybe mostly because my builds are so sweaty. This is what happens when you are a late game player and you go back and do these all over again. So now let's go ahead and move on to Stonewood SSD 4, where we had to put down the very first amplifier that we had to put down in Stonewood. And here is our first time with a smasher. The smasher is actually what told me I made the mistake and forgot to build something on the side, because that's exactly where he goes. And it's at this moment that I'm like, oh yeah, I needed to build something here. And I didn't. So I take down the smasher, and then I just kind of babysit this side of it. I tried not to stay near the exit or away from that area so they didn't path to me on purpose and went up to the tunnel. I could easily babysit it because there's not that many husks coming along, and they're still power level 5. And so this is where I also realized they could come from up there, from the side. So if you want to, you could block off part of it. I think I go and block off part of it right now. So they make it up through that way. I don't remember where the storm shield was and whether I would have room to actually block anything off, but you could. You could block that off if you wanted, or you could babysit it yourself. So I do end up blocking it off a little bit. So I had to concentrate on the propane so he doesn't come in and destroy my tunnels. Because like I said, those things are the bane of trap tunnels. If they get in there and drop the propane in the middle of a tunnel, like if it explodes before they die, your tunnel's gone. Wave 2 went to the same amplifier, but from the east. As I said earlier, I remembered that they could come through here, so I built a little tunnel there. But at this moment, I'm like, I wonder if I should have built something here or not. So I kind of go watch it a little bit, try to block them off just in case they do. But they end up coming around it anyways, you'll see later. I didn't finish blocking it off. I kept going back and checking on it, though, to make sure whether it was okay or not, whether there was anything coming through. And see, that's when I realized I made the mistake of not continuing the block. I don't necessarily know that it would have helped anyway, but it still may have. So I've blocked off the rest of it now to see if that would actually help. They start trying to come through. I just decided to open it up and let them come down this way. And then I started planning for later defense of what I would actually build there to keep them in line. And so that's kind of where I started wanting to put a trap tunnel, but I ended up changing my mind, as you saw. I directed the trap tunnel the other direction, which was smarter. But even with not realizing that they would come around that one direction, that was still a very easy wave. All right, so the next wave is attacking the storm shield from the east. And so again, just like with the previous defenses, this tunnel really does its job really well, actually. But then I saw something getting through it, like, I don't know where these husks are coming from here, so I go ahead and get rid of them. And then I try to figure out how they're actually getting through. So like, I blocked everything off, didn't I? And that's when I see that husk right there appear, and I find the spire that I wasn't expecting. Initially, I tried to just block it off, but then they actually spawned inside what I was blocking them off of. Like, as you can see right there, you saw something inside it. So that's why I was suggesting just build some broadsides on the wall beside me here to my left. Just not even try to block them if they spawn there, but just damage them as they come through. It's only one spire. You're not guaranteed to get it, but you still want to be prepared in case you do. But even those couple that were getting through, they weren't really doing much to the builds. All right, so that wave was done pretty easily. And then it went back to Amp A from the south yet again. So I went and put the base back down, this time actually over top of the tunnel, similar to where I would put it now. This was another quota wave, so it should go by pretty quickly and easily. But again, since at this point I didn't have any defenses on the right-hand side to the west, I had to actually babysit that part of it myself. All right, and so that one was, again, very easy. It's still overbuilt. They're power level 5, but the power level starts to crank up here. It was power level 2, power level 3, and then power level 5. So let's move on to SSD 5 and see how that defense went. First wave is coming from the south against Amplifier B. Now this is where I realized I had messed up. And also we get the first time we had to deal with takers. Yay! Takers are so fun. They can legitimately be pretty scary because they can, like, especially later on in Twine, they can one-shot you. So yeah, you can see, like I was saying a second ago, the husks are now power level 9. They've jumped up from power level 5 to power level 9. So you see here, we're just babysitting it ourselves, taking care of the husks since there's no actual traps to defend. Amplifier B was the new amplifier for this actual defense. I just completely forgot that there could be a spawn from the south. But as you can see, we're handling it pretty easily between myself and the defender. We're not really letting anything get past. That is one of my favorite defenders, by the way, the Epic Jill defender. It's actually supposed to be like it's an Epic Games employee. I love it. We got some huskies that were coming through, but still, we just take them right out. So again, even though we didn't have defenses, it was a pretty easy wave, in all honesty. We didn't really need them. We took care of it ourselves. We're same amplifier, but from the west. This is the part that I actually trapped up. It's a quota wave, and they're dying really quick. Nothing is actually really getting through. Anything that does, Jill's taking care of it. Oh, good. That propane got killed right as it was about to drop its propane. All right, and that's that wave complete. Easily done. All right, so wave 3 went back to Amplifier A from the south. No, actually from the west. What? Now, I actually forgot about this. I probably said something about it earlier in the video that I forgot about this, but yikes. But apparently, you can actually have a spawn from the west against what I put down for Amplifier A. I completely forgot about this. But seeing where it is, you could definitely put down some defenses there, and I would actually recommend it. You're pretty close to the amplifier, but you could probably put down some timeout rooms down there on the floor where all the husks are right now. But with me putting down an extra defender pad on this side, on the west side, and bringing Jill over here to this amplifier and helping myself, of course, we're handling it pretty well. It would be probably worse if we were getting smashers on this wave. There's nothing really that's going to cause too big of an issue for handling it ourselves. But again, I would still recommend you put down a trap tunnel of some kind. Now, I didn't really worry about it because the amplifier is right in front of me right now is the one I put down for the next defense. So I didn't build anything at all. Just like I didn't build anything for Amplifier B. And so now it went back to Amplifier B, attacking from the south again. It's like it just wants to keep spawning in that one spot where I put down the amplifier for number 6. And luckily it's a quota wave, so again, it's going to be pretty quick. The quota this time is 80, so not bad. Between myself and Jill, we take that down pretty quickly. But yeah, there you go. Number 5 down, easily done. Even with basically no trap tunnels for 3 of the 4 waves, because it kept wanting to spawn in that one spot. I would make sure when you run yours, make sure to put tunnels there. Even though you could see that we handled it easily without them, it's still better to play it safe than sorry. So with that being said, let's move on to the final Stonewood SSD that you have to do for the quest line, SSD 6. And our first spawn point is to the east of the storm shield. Now, I don't know what's happened to some of my walls there. They kind of disappeared. The way storm shields work now, they're supposed to reset, so I don't know why those walls are missing there, but it's not that big of a deal. It does help a lot with the fact that we don't have to recraft all of our traps that might have lost all their durability or rebuild walls and ceilings that may have been taken down. So I love the way storm shields work now compared to where they did when I first started. With the fact that everything resets back to the beginning of where it was when you started the storm shield, that's just one of the best changes they've ever made for quality of life in this game. Quick little defense here, pretty easily done. They're power level 15 at this point, but they're still not getting far into the tunnels, so that's really great. And I have a taker trying to come through, so I'm going to go ahead and take him out. I've lost a floor there, I see. I don't know how that happened, but I'd already placed that back down. I lost a wall, too. That could have been from Spires, maybe. I bet that's what happened. Spires may have taken him down. All right, now wave 2 is to Amplifier B from the west. So this is the actual trapped up section. All right, a little quick quota wave with 75. It shouldn't take too long. Again, you've seen the effectiveness of these trap tunnels, but the point of continuing to show this is the fact that even as they got up to level 15, these trap tunnels were still incredibly effective. So it gets you through 6 very easily. Now at this point I start to see a couple husks have come through. I don't think they actually made it into the storm shield, but so some of them are starting to make it through the trap tunnels at this point. That's why I was saying earlier we might want to actually put some more ceiling traps outside the timeout room in case something does get through. I can see something just there that almost got in. Now we got Amplifier A from the east. Now this is after fixing the defenses that I talked about were not correct in the others. Here's a timeout room that you saw earlier in the video that I ended up going with, actually in defense. Put down Jill again to help out like I would normally would do in case anything got through, and then I can babysit this one while she's babysitting the other one. You can hear that sound wall going off. There's not really any propanes to worry about, but just in case. And propanes aren't their only use. They're also helpful, as you see, to make the husks just kind of dance and slow them down a little bit too. All right, so now we're going to Amp C from the west. This is the moment I realized I need to connect these two tunnels, so I do. And that way both tunnels are getting affected by supercharged traps. Another quick quota wave, just get rid of 80. Not too bad. Jill's getting some of them before they even get into the tunnels. That's good. Yeah, you can see just how close I had to build the defenses because of the storm shield itself. So that's why I kind of go ahead and babysit a little bit too, because it's just a single timeout room side by side. Aha! I forgot to mention this earlier, but you want to block off that side over there as well, because some husks can come through there, especially lobbers. You want to block off that other direction there so that nothing can get through that side. And I have blocked it off now. I just didn't show it. All right, final wave, 5 of 5 coming from the south to Amplifier A. Now still, as you can see, I haven't built the connection over to the other tunnel yet. I think it's right here where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that. So I'm looking at it and figuring out whether it'll reach, and it actually will if I build it right. Decided to put it there. Try to figure out the best place for it at that point. I think that was where I ended up going with. That's definitely the best place for it because it affects both tunnels equally. I don't know how that one got through, but I took care of them pretty easily. So I kind of try to babysit this side at that point because apparently they're getting through a little bit over there. At that point, I see a smasher. So I start trying to figure out how to get into the actual amplifier. That's when I realized, oh, I need a door here. So I can go in and take care of this smasher. And right as I get in, the smasher makes it to the tunnel. Traps aren't doing too much to him, but luckily he just gets stopped right there, and I just take him out with my Wraith. So that could have been really bad, but that's why I made sure to tell you to leave a door for yourself in case something like that happens where a smasher gets in and you need to actually go in and take care of it yourself. So there you go. Stonewood Storm Shield Defense number 6 done and dusted. Easily done with these drastic overbuilds. The goal was to help you all figure out the best way to run these SSDs in Stonewood, especially if you ended up deciding to run them by yourself. So if anyone watching this video is still working on your Stonewood SSDs, I hope you learned something from these that will help you be successful as you work through them. This was a lot of fun for me to go back and do all of these again and see just how different it is when you know what you're doing. I know I really didn't know what I was doing when I was in Stonewood the first time, so I hope watching this video is going to make your time in Stonewood easier. That's going to do it for today's video. I'm sorry that the video is so long, but I really hope that you enjoyed it and that it helped you with your Stonewood SSDs. As I said in the last 2 videos, I'm sorry if my voice sounds off, but I am still recovering from whatever that cold or flu was. It felt a lot better when I was recording the earlier video today, the Reclaimer Challenge video, but it feels a little bit off now because I've talked a lot more. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure to hit that like button, as that really means so much to me. Also, if you're watching the video, you liked what you saw, and you're not already subscribed, please make sure to hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you can see each new video as soon as it goes live, especially if you're an early game player, as I do have more guides coming up. Outside of the game guides, I also have another loadout and challenge video coming at some point in the near future to finish out my top 5 favorite loadouts, and alongside that video, I'll also be releasing the Twine Peaks SSD videos that I've been working on. If you have anything you would like to see as a beginner's game guide, please leave a comment down below. The whole point of this series is to teach newer players how to play the game in the most effective, efficient, and enjoyable way possible. So I'm eager to see what others might need some help with, or what other players think that lower level players might need to know. As always, shout outs to my favorite Save the World content creators, both past and present: Latana, Demon Joe France, David Dean, Tori X, Aiden Harris, Rounded Tic Tac, Death Grip, Nilek Dreams, X Samantha, and Enforcer. As always, I've linked all their channels down below, so go and check them out, please. Thanks again, everyone, for watching, and stay cool, geeks. Have a great day.